Welcome to the Health Coach Nation podcast. I'm your host, Haley Rowe, marketing and sales strategist and coach. And on this show, we cover marketing, sales, time management, and mindset for all of you who are getting into your business, growing your business. And today we have a very special guest. Her name is Melissa Seidman, and she is a dynamic entrepreneur, educator, and marketing strategist who has been able to redefine the role of support in the digital education space. As the founder of Not Another Virtual Assistant, she has transitioned from a decade-long career as a high school history teacher to becoming a sought-after authority on email marketing, automation, and business scaling for female founders. So thank you so much for being here today, and I'm so excited to dig into all things automation, marketing, all the things. But tell me a little bit about what was the transition from history teaching to wanting to have your own business?
Yeah, thanks for having me first off, Haley. I was in the classroom and my husband and I were both teachers and we were struggling to pay our daycare bill. And all of a sudden I started selling curriculum online for myself. And then people started realizing I was doing a really good job with email marketing for selling my curriculum, that they started to hire me to do their emails for them. And then all of a sudden that started taking off. I was putting my kids to bed at 7:00. I was doing work from 7 to 10, 7 to 11 at night, and then waking up the next morning at 5 a.m. to go teach the full day. And then all of a sudden that scaled. I started doing really well I was doubling my teaching income at that point, still in the classroom. For 2 years, I did that schedule. And then all of a sudden I was like, why am I still in the classroom if I'm really enjoying email marketing more? So I took a career change. I don't know if it was like a midlife crisis or something, but I switched. And now we've grown to a team of 8 and we specialize in email marketing for small businesses and product-based businesses and service-based businesses.
Amazing. So when it comes to email marketing, what should a beginner know about email marketing? Because I think a lot of people don't have a lot of knowledge about why would they want to do that, and why should they take it seriously?
A couple of weeks ago, my Instagram and Facebook went down and I did not have access for 3 days. And I was freaking out thinking, what am I going to do to grow my business if I don't have email marketing, social media? And the reality is you don't own those platforms. You don't own anything that is on borrowed someone else's audience and someone else's social media, but you do own your email list. And what that means is you can take your email list and switch platforms. You control your list. You decide when you want to send a sale email or a promotion or a nurturing email. You decide when you do that. And often the first thing people check and the last thing they check at the end of the day is their email, which is really interesting.
100%. And more people see it most likely compared to the busy social media platform where they're scrolling through. So if someone's like, okay, I need an email system, what kind of factors do you consider when choosing an email CRM system?
Yeah. So we work at Not Another VA with 11 different platforms. So we work with a bunch of them. And then we always are adding to it because people come to us with different platforms. What are you currently using it with? What are you using for your sales? Is often usually how I see what to fit people with. You also want something that's beautiful, but you also want something that's practical and advanced features with automations and advanced tagging and all kinds of stuff. So whenever I choose a platform, I'm looking at what will help me right now, but what will help me as I grow, because email marketing quickly grows and you want a platform that will grow with you.
Yeah, for sure. And there's ones out there with free versions or paid versions or just paid versions, so you also want to decide, do I want to invest in this yet? Or, that kind of thing. What about user friendliness? What would you say are like your top 2 favorites for what you find that is most user friendly?
Yeah. So I am on Kit right now myself personally, and I really love Kit for advanced features. And I use it with funnels and advanced automations and all kinds of stuff with that. I recommend to my clients often starting on Kit or something you feel comfortable with. A lot of my clients are also on Flowdesk, and they love Flowdesk for the deliverability, beautiful layouts, and advanced features. So a lot of my clients are on those 2. You could start with MailChimp. You can go with MailerLite. There's Constant Contact. There's so many of them out there, ActiveCampaign. But I personally am on Kit, and a lot of my clients are in Flowdesk and Kit.
Very cool. Okay. So if someone's like, all right, well, I want to take advantage of email marketing, where do I begin or what do I do? What would you tell them?
Yeah. So you want to start with, well, first choose the platform. And Kit has a really great platform in that you can stay on their free plan to 10,000 emails. So it's a really great program to stay with, to start with. And then as you scale with more emails, it grows with you. But you need to create a landing page or an opt-in form so you collect someone's name and email and you give them something for free, whether it's a template, a checklist, a webinar, a PDF, a coupon code for a product or service. You need to give them something for free to join that list. And I recommend having an opt-in page on every page of your website, as well as a pop-up on your site, because you're going to get more emails that way. And then you also should have it linked in your bio to join your email list. You promote it multiple times on social media to get those people off of social media onto your email list.
Yes, definitely. And actually, for everybody listening, I have a free training about how do you choose what freebie to, like, what's a good freebie that people actually want to opt into? How do you nurture people after they get on your list? You know, what should you have on your landing page to make it enticing? So if you want to go to haleyrowe.com/live event, all one word, we have that available as a free gift. And once people join your list, Melissa, what are some email marketing? Like I hear, a lot of people say, okay, I'm going to start doing newsletters. Tell me a little more about like what do newsletters mean to you and what are some do's and don'ts with newsletters?
Yeah. So you don't want to ghost your list. So when people start joining your list, you do want to send them consistent nurtured emails. And that is really important and then often people say, what is consistent emails? Some people, it could be 1 email a week, 2 emails a week, once a month, twice a month. Do something that you can handle with a consistent schedule is often what I say, because if you aren't consistent with it, it won't grow over time. They don't know if they're one person on your list or 100,000 people on your list, but they will notice if you just email them during sales or promotions. So you want to nurture them also, give them value, tips of whatever your audience is interested in, and give them value. So consistent emails make a big difference. And then when you send a newsletter, I recommend having a template. So it makes it really quick and easy to send an email. And most email providers, you can create a template with your logo and your branding and your colors, and make it easier for you when you do go to send those emails. And I recommend to clients sitting down and batching client emails at one sitting. So sit down once a month. Like I sit down on the 20th of the month and I do all of next month's emails. So I'm not thinking of the emails the night before. I'm not making mistakes. I'm checking my work. I do them in one sitting, and that really helps a lot.
That is so true. Yes. You don't want to be flying by the seat of your pants. It's always nice to batch it. And with the templates, one thing that I've noticed is when I get a newsletter that's like, it's very busy. It's like the recipe of the week and the workout of the week. And it's like structured almost like I got a newspaper. I find that I don't like I think those aren't as great as it sounds. And I think what's better is kind of focusing on like one thing for that email, like one story or one, a couple tips or whatever. And that doesn't mean that you can't still use a template with like colors or your logo in the corner or at the bottom of the email. But I find the busier it gets in the more like business salesy newspaper model that it gets, the less I think people are going to read it because they're going to be like, oh, a business. Right? Would you agree with that? Or what
I do agree with that. I do.
Okay.
And you got to think of the email. What is the one call to action? What is the goal of this email? Is it to send them to my podcast? Is it to send them to my blog post? Is it send them to Instagram? Is it to get them to buy a product or service? Is it to get them to just nurture and give them tips and value? That one call to action should be for about that whole email. And I always recommend the call to action being multiple places of the email, the top, the middle, and the bottom, because no one reads the whole email anymore. People often scan it or they read parts of the email. So you do want to make sure that call to action is very clear in that one intention of the email. But yeah, newsletters with tons of things going on, it's often distracting and it's not going to get the call to action that you're trying to get if you have too many things going on with it.
Yeah, definitely. Have you now with your email list, do you do like open and closed door launches, or do you do kind of casual like calls to action? Like what's your preference on that?
Yeah, I do casual calls to action. I don't do crazy launches. I haven't done that. I mean, I launched a course a few years ago, so that was a couple launches, but mainly just nurturing emails. They know every morning at Tuesday morning at 7 a.m. I'm going to send that email, and they expect it. And if they don't get an email, they'll email me and be like, Melissa, what happened? I made a mistake. One day I skipped an email, and it happens. So, but I send down a consistent schedule. They get used to that. They know that. And people who want to be on your list will be on your list.
Yeah. How do you manage? I think a lot of people get sensitive about, oh, I got unsubscribes. I'm doing it wrong. Like, how do you handle those unsubscribes and make sure that you're not taking it personally?
Yeah. In the beginning, I used to get really upset when I got unsubscribes, but now I just say they're not my people. They're not my person. I don't want them on my list. If they're not going to open the emails, they're not going to click the emails, they're not going to buy from me. Why would I want to keep them on my list? So I often recommend cleaning your list for that reason. If someone's not opening or reading emails, you want to clean them every so often and get them off your list. I would rather have a smaller list that's engaged than a larger list that's not going to open and not going to buy from me ultimately.
Totally agree. Yeah, I did a big list cleaning at the beginning of the year this year, and it was people who had not like opened an email in over 90 days or 6 months or something like that, and they're probably not coming back. Like, but I did do a little thing to like check, like, are you sure, hey, checking in, do you still want to be here? I might remove you if not. And actually some people did reselect to re-engage. So you never know. But it is good to clean your list. And I think when you say clean your list, how do you define that? Just for someone who's like, what are you talking about? What does that even mean?
Yeah, I do this for a number of clients. We do this every 90 days for clients. But every 90 days, your email provider will tell you who's a cold subscriber, someone who has not opened an email in over 90 days or engaged in your list. So I send them a series of breakup emails. I actually have them break like a breakup. Are we on a break? And I put some memes in there, and it's just funny. But the idea is that I'm going to try to get them to re-engage and re-click the emails to be back on the list. And if they don't re-engage, I remove them after a period of time. And I give them about 2 weeks to go through the breakup emails and some time in the middle and make sure that the list is clean at the end, because ultimately I don't want to pay for subscribers if they're not opening my emails and spending me money.
Exactly. Okay. And then as far as growing your list, tell me a little bit about like, what have been some things that have worked for you as far as growing your email list, getting your freebie out there, all that good stuff?
I've done some great collabs with people where we collaborate. So I promote my freebie to someone's list and they promote their freebie to my list. That's a really great way to do that. Really simple. You just find someone who's a similar area as you or similar clients. Again, you want to make sure that the right subscribers on your list. So you want to make sure, I'd rather not have like someone who's not in my niche or my area of expertise. So make sure it's the right collab. But you've done summits. Summits are a great way to grow your list. If you do summits or virtual speaking, or if you get on podcasts, promote your email list that way. Like at the bottom of doing every podcast, I always give a link to join my email list often, or I send them to a page that has all my email opt-ins on it. The link in bio has links to join my email list. I promote it on stories. I promote it in posts. DM me to get this freebie, and then all of a sudden they get on my list that way.
Yeah, definitely. And it's kind of something that you're going to always be mentioning, always be growing over time. Have you found that when you do your emails, like a certain thing worked really well, or a certain strategy you tried, or a certain subject line? Like, is there anything that stands out to you at a time in your business where you were like, wow, that email did so well?
So my emails are about email marketing, which is kind of interesting. But I had an email subject line that was size doesn't matter. And that was a really great subject line. People were like, what is she talking about? I did a subject line about Virgin River. I love the show Virgin River. And instantly people were like, opened it just because they love that show too. Or if you do any kind of references to pop culture, the more inquisitive the subject line, the more likely they are to open it. My general rule with subject lines is they should be 5 words or less. And if they are not 5 words or less, they're going to get cut off on mobile. And then I always try to put an emoji in that subject line, because the only way you're going to get people to open them if they see the subject line and the preview text. And the preview text is just text under the email that is kind of like a preview line that you can type in.
Yeah. So. I love that. That's a great piece of advice. And the subject line really can make or break your email. What are some other things that you've seen either like kind of make or break emails? Yeah,
too many emails too many images in an email can lead to spam. Putting the word free or sale in the subject line can often lead to spam. You want to make sure you have a domain verified email. What that means is I can't be using a free gmail.com or a yahoo.com as an email sending. You want to use a paid email provider. I have some clients who come to me, I'm like, I'm sending emails through Gmail. You can't do that. You need to use a paid email. You need to have a clear ability to unsubscribe from your list. There's CAM spam laws that you got to follow with that. So paid domain email, domain verified needs to happen because there were Google and Yahoo changes a few years ago. I want to say a year and a half ago, that you want to make sure that you're using a paid domain email with your email provider.
Yes. Yes. And what about the GDPR? Do you know anything about
Yes.
Yeah. Tell us, educate us on what is that about and how do we navigate that?
Yeah. So in some countries, you got to make sure that they have a clear ability to say they want to be on your list. And some email providers will actually have a checkbox that they have to check that they are confirming they're joining your mailing list. You can't just add emails to your list anymore. You can't buy lists. I even have clients that come to me and be like, I bought this list of 10,000 emails. You can't do that anymore. But they need to opt into your list and confirm that they're being on there. And some countries, the GDP is a really great feature. On Kit, for example, there's a checkbox in your settings that you can turn it on if someone is from one of those countries that requires it, and it automatically turns on. Other providers are starting to get more compliant with it. Flowdesk added a checkbox that says I consent to marketing emails. They basically just need to consent to it and then just check a box and then join. But you can't just add emails yourself.
Yeah. And for people who, let's say they joined before there was that box and they're on your list, mine gives me a sign that says like, these are the people who did not check that off and live in one of those countries.
Yeah.
Do you remove those people from your list? Do you how do you go back in time and
yeah, I know. You're supposed to, what I would probably do is just email them saying, please opt into this checkbox, and then give them a new landing page form and then send them that way to get them back on your list. And then technically you're supposed to remove them at that point because they're not compliant. Yeah.
Okay. That's good to know. Cause I've always wondered what should I do with these people who joined in that weird time before I had the checkbox?
Yeah.
And they're just kind of sitting there and I haven't talked to them, but that's good to know. So what are any other, big things that you think new beginners should know about either creating a freebie and creating a landing page or things like that?
Yeah. So you want to make sure your freebie and your landing page is your ideal customer in mind. What is the ideal customer? If someone's going to join your list that is not the ideal customer, you don't want them there. So I would rather, again, smaller lists, more engaged. So make sure when you create that freebie, it's ideally targeted to your ideal client. So if you're a health coach or if you're a coach, make sure it's something in that niche that you help people with. Or if you're a consultant of any sort, make sure it's someone in that niche that you work with specifically. That will make a big difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what about I get a question a lot about how many emails is too many emails? And I'm like, there's no real answer to that. Some people who provide a ton of value, I don't mind getting a ton of emails from them. Right. Yeah. And then others, it's if every email is hey, buy my stuff. Hey, just checking in again. Hey, then you're that's too many emails. So how do you navigate that question when your clients ask you, how many emails is too many emails?
Yeah. So it depends on your open rates and click rates. If you're having a really good success, I have a skincare line client that I work with, and we were sending one email a week for her, but she was making $800 to $1,000 every single time we send an email, every single time. So I said, let's try 2 emails a week. And then all of a sudden now we're making her $22,000 a month because we're sending 2 emails a week, 2 emails a week. So it depends on your clients, and customers, but what is too much, what is not enough? It really depends on your audience and depends on what you're doing. If you're providing value, they're going to open their emails and they're going to want to read them. If they're not providing value, they're going to unsubscribe, and then maybe you want to send less emails. But the more engaged, more consistent you are, the better your emails will be and your responses.
Yeah, definitely. What are some ways to provide value without just giving tips? Because I hear a lot of people who get stuck in, well, what is this whole providing value, or what do you mean? Can you tell me a little more about that?
Yeah, I would send them to anything you're doing and think about repurposing content. If you're making a podcast, or if you have an Instagram reel that was really helpful and informative, send them there, send them to a podcast, send them to a blog post. Providing value doesn't need to just be tips, but it can also be case studies or examples of how you've helped people, or show particular ways, and then do a soft sell. You could work with me this way. If you've had a case study, let's say, it doesn't need to just be tips.
Yes, agreed, 100%. Okay, so if people want to learn more about how you can help them with the setup of their email system or whatever it is that they may need help with when it comes to email marketing, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at notanotherva, but you can also find me at notanotherva.com. If you go to notanotherva/everything, you can get all of my free offers. I have a free subject line cheat sheet. I have a bunch of free offers of how to use Flowdesk, how to use advanced features of email marketing. So I would love to see you there, but go to notanotherva.com/everything.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. And one more question. When things get hard in your business or you're having a down day, how do you get resilient? How do you bring yourself back to the moment? What would you say to somebody who's maybe going through the ups and downs?
Yeah, you got to learn to ride. I mean, being a business owner is a wild ride, like without a doubt. Like there's ups and downs, there's slow seasons, there's busy seasons. You got to learn to just enjoy the waves, because it will come in waves with business. There's going to be times where you're slow and there's going to be times where you're really busy. I like to go for a walk with my dog and clear my head. I put a podcast in, or I put music in from high school and I go for a walk, and it just clears my head and it helps me recharge.
I'm so big on walks too. It's the secret, everyone. Clearing your head, and you'll come back with new ideas and a fresh outlook. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Thank you for having me.